They have to have passion for it, but they also have to have discipline. That's the other side. There are a lot of salespeople out there who are passionate, but they cannot keep a database up. And if you're going to make 100 calls a day, that's 500 calls a week. That's 1,000 calls in 2 weeks. You are not going to be able to keep track of that unless you have the discipline to record all that in a database.
Very good point. Excellent point indeed. And that is something that we've exercised in what we do here as well, in making sure that because we have the various categories now of follow-ups and pendings and so on and so forth coming down the line. So you know exactly what category each call pushes itself into.
I am very impressed by what you guys are doing to market and sell. I give you a big kudo for what you're doing.
Well, I just have to give credit to the person who founded the radio station in the first place. He's no longer with us, God bless his soul, Mr. Otto Miller. And he was, in fact, a very successful salesperson in the New York market, in radio, in broadcasting. He was always in the top 3 billing in that market. And he's shared a lot of his skills with us, and that is one of the reasons why we have been able to be successful as we are today, because of the principles that you just mentioned. So we're on to something.
Well, and one other thing I think you're doing right is you have built a process. So it is not just an individual star, but it's doing the right things in the right order over and over and over again.
Right. And once you do that, you become accustomed to it.
Yep.
So it becomes a part of your regime, so to speak.
That's right.
Let's go far afield and look at other areas. Let's look at the broad concepts now, because you're looking into the future in terms of what it means for the United States of America as a force to be reckoned with in terms of entrepreneurship, the capitalist approach towards life and so on. There are things that are changing now. We're moving away from an industrial type outlook to other aspects of it. Sort of give us a futuristic projection, if you will, Andy, about where you see things going and what people can do to position themselves to qualify for down the road.
Well, let me ground it with where I started looking at this, which was in the mid-'90s, researching what happens when the Fortune 500 go offshore to Asia, which has now happened.
Exactly.
And the U.S. economy could potentially sunset like the British Empire did.
Interesting.
And the question was, what do you base the economy on when the Fortune 500 is no longer that concerned about the health of the U.S. economy? And the obvious answer is entrepreneurial companies. But the problem is that 3 out of 4 fail in every 10-year cycle, and that makes them too unstable to be an economic backbone. And that's where the research for my company came up and said, how do you teach them to survive a little longer, make a little more while they're here, and exit more profitably when they're ready?
Interesting. And do you also attribute the aspect of approach to education at the fundamental level as a part of that as well?
Everything we do is about education. It's about teaching business owners what they need to know. I call it's kind of like defragging a computer.
Right.
We find business owners know 80% of what they need to know to succeed, but that missing 20% is killing them and killing their business. And so what we do is figure out what they know, fill in the missing bits, and put it into a useful planning and execution process so that when they get done with a meeting with us, they've got a next steps list. They know what they have to do next, and they're ready to roll.
Exactly. And I'm happy that you mentioned that, because instead of people sitting back and waiting for something to happen, they have it in their power to do something to empower their situations by making the correct steps, as you mentioned a while ago. I think that is very important.
We say to our clients all the time that if they aren't clear what they're going to do next, it's like sitting on the yellow line in the middle of the road. Move left, move right, doesn't matter which. You just cut your chances of getting mowed down by 50%. Just move. If it's not the right direction, then you move again.
Right. Okay.
But it's about the movement, and then it's about perfecting the movement.
That's a very, very poignant analogy.
Glad you liked it.
Yeah, that's very, very key indeed.
Gets you kind of focused, doesn't it?
It does, because then, you can bring that analogy to anything in life, because that's what it's all about, movement, in terms of making sure you're moving in the right direction.
Movement, and then get smarter.
And get smarter while you're doing this.
Yeah.
Now, in that concept, because you mentioned something a while ago, which I want to go back to in terms of attitude towards what it is that you do. And we talked about sales and marketing. Let's look at that in a much larger scale of things in terms of your attitude and your ambition, if you will, towards growth and development for your company as the owner. What are some of the pitfalls that one might find having to tread carefully through to make sure that those considerations are in place in any structure of a growing business?
Well, I think you have to have a plan of what do we want to do year over year in terms of growth. We recommend 15% year over year growth. And the reason for that is because it's digestible. You don't take on too much. You don't blow it up when you take it on.
Okay.
And it's also enough to stay ahead of the economy or the inflation rate.
I see.
A lot of business owners will say, you know what, I've been doing 6-7% growth. I'm happy with that. They're going to get mowed down because it's not fast enough to stay ahead of the economy.
Wow, that's important. That's very, very important. So you always have to know what's happening in the economy. And how important is the market in all of this in terms of Wall Street? How important should one be concerned about this?
It is and it isn't. I think that the biggest influence of Wall Street is not the availability of capital, because business owners, for the most part, don't get that much capital from outside the company. What it is it's the noise level. And I think one of the things that has been so devastating about the economy over the last year is the negative noise level. And it's one of the things why I'm so glad to be here at this station, because you guys are talking about positive news.
Okay.
If you start talking positively, then you can start creating something. Now, the other side of it is the advantage to our economy of entrepreneurship as a backbone is that some are going to fail. It's just a reality.
Right.
But when they fail, their numbers are small and they are not going to take the economy down. And so what we have been dealing with over the last year, trying to keep 5 major companies from taking our economy, everything that we personally have built, and putting it right down the tubes, that doesn't happen when you build a broad-based economy of small businesses.
Wow, well said indeed. And that is indeed a mine gold, or gold mine, however you want to look at it, because the mined gold in terms of the gold as well as the mining itself is important to stabilizing your focus, I think, in making sure that you achieve those goals and those dreams, because it comes to the mind and the stability also in how you think. I would also want to attribute that as well. So keeping focused on what's happening around you in your environment, in your communities, and so on is very important.
And you also mentioned the word marketing. It is one of the things that we find most business owners are least comfortable with. They understand the least. They're not at all clear what to do about it. And yet it is the lifeblood of the future of the business. And it is something that we teach every business owner to get comfortable with, to build a master plan, and it is so broad. Search engine optimization, direct mail, telemarketing, networking. It's endless what you can do, and an enormous amount can be done for almost nothing today.
Well, you just said something a while ago. You mentioned a number of applications that can be used towards marketing. Do you therefore try to select something that is comfortable to you, or something that is comfortable to the business, in order to to decide what it is that you're going to, what method you're going to use?
Well, you're going to have to be doing a lot of things at once. And the reason for that is marketing doesn't work if it's one event or one activity. Marketing, you have to be complementary. And that means getting comfortable doing a whole bunch of things. There are so many places on the internet today to make your company visible. If you don't have a Facebook page, build one. If you're not on LinkedIn, get there. Twitter, absolutely.
Makes a big difference.
Yep, and get your family, get your kids involved. Kids today can go in and do your Facebook updates for you if you're not sure how to do it.
Interesting. The world has really changed, hasn't it?
Oh, you bet it has.
Andy Gray, I thank you once again for joining us. How can people connect with you should they want to reach out to you to help them direct their path?
So they can go look at our website, strategyleaders, that's plural, .com, and askandy.com.
Okay.
They can put an information request in there, and they can also give us a call at 914-238-3500.
That's 914-238-3500.
Yep, 914-238-3500. 3500. We're located right over the border in Chappaqua, and we'd love to hear from people. If you've got a question, give us a call, and we'll talk to you.
And also look in the Westchester Business Journal as well as the Fairfield County Business Journal for Ask Andi, columns on advice in business.
Absolutely.
Thanks for coming in once again this afternoon. Wish you all the best. It's been a joy. Thank you.